In more damaging news for the Victorian Labor Party, a former employee at the Migrant Workers Centre has made the explosive claim that taxpayer-funded staff were told to assist the Labor Party campaign effort in the lead-up to the 2018 state election. The whistleblower has said staff were told to clear their diaries and put aside regular work in order to help Labor's election bid. Joining me now in Melbourne, Victorian MP and member for the seat of Kew, Mr Tim Smith. Well, it doesn't get any worse than this, Tim. It's alleged staffers, taxpayer-funded staffers, were told to organise booth kits, door knock for petition signatures and distribute pretty offensive anti-Liberal political pamphlets, all, as I said, at the cost of the taxpayer. Surely you don't believe this.
I do believe this, actually. I do believe this. I believe this to be absolutely true. A whistleblower has blown the lid on yet another Labor scandal using taxpayers' money to help the political cause of the Australian Labor Party. I mean, this is political corruption. Let's call it for what it is. This is political corruption. And like we saw with the red shirts debacle, where taxpayer funds was used to pay electorate staff to go door knocking and campaigning for the Australian Labor Party, the Migrant Workers Centre staff were told to clear their diaries between the 12th of November 2018 and the 24th of November 2018. Well, guess what happened on the 24th of November 2018? It's election day in Victoria. So this doesn't surprise me. We have a systemically corrupt Labor government here in Victoria that is, frankly, blurring the lines, like we saw in New South Wales up until 2011, blurring the line between what's the Labor parties and what's the states. And one of these days, an integrity body is going to find some serious wrongdoing within state Labor ranks.
Well, we already know that the administrators have been called into the Victorian Labor Party. That's extraordinary in itself. But what I found interesting in the allegations today from the whistleblower, when we were talking about electorate staff being used for politics or ministerial staff being used for politics, that's an allegation that's often thrown around at both sides of politics. But to use charitable workers, an entity that's getting taxpayer funds, separate and distinct from political employees and political staff, I find that's extraordinary. And if these allegations are true, I suspect this would not have been the only body involved in such work. What else have you heard? Were you aware of these allegations at the time? Were they rumoured about? Were you surprised by what you read today?
No, I wasn't surprised, but the honest answer is there's been rumours for years of Labor using various publicly funded bodies to channel money, particularly to pay for memberships. And we saw the branch stacking scandal that's now being investigated by the Ombudsman and indeed by IBAC, using various different bodies to channel funds to pay for party memberships, particularly in ethnic communities. And in this instance, the use of publicly funded staffers to campaign for the Labor Party is, as I said again, political corruption that I don't think surprises any of us in Spring Street, because we see sometimes the resources that are rolled out by the Labor Party and the union movement, and you're like, well, who on earth are paying for these people? And they just appear from nowhere and off they go.
I want to go to the unions because I read your op-ed today, your opinion piece in the Australian newspaper. A lot of allegations, we've talked a lot here about the security guards and the process and protocols around hotel quarantining. It failed in Victoria because the uniforms, if I can call it that, army or police were not involved as there were in other states. But you make the point today in your piece in The Australian that the minister responsible for Victoria's quarantine regime, the Minister Matt Kunkel, has links to the union that represented or does represent all the security guards in the state.
Well, that's correct. Matt Kunkel was, for a long time before he entered Parliament, a union organiser for the National Union of Workers. They've recently merged with another union called United Voice. They represent the security guards. Now, what on earth the Minister for Jobs and the Department of Jobs was doing, organising and being the coordination authority for hotel quarantine? I mean, that's a very technical role that should have been undertaken probably by the Police Commissioner in conjunction with the health department, with hopefully the support of the ADF, which, as we know, Daniel Andrews refused in Victoria, unlike New South Wales, where they had not one transmission of coronavirus out of hotel quarantine. But in this instance, you've got a conflicted minister, a member of the NUW, that's merged with United Voice, who represent the security guards, and the security guards being paid a substantial amount of money per hour to undertake a task that they were not trained for, that they completely stuffed up, and that has resulted in a second wave of coronavirus in Victoria that Daniel Andrews ultimately is responsible for. So Pakula should have lost his job. Lisa Neville, the police minister, should have gone too, as should have the health minister, Jenny Mikakos. And the fact that these Labor ministers still have their jobs tonight, when so many Victorians will be losing theirs in coming months because of this second lockdown, is an absolute disgrace.
Tim Smith, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Peter.